The story begins inside a maximum security prison in Russia, where deep within its walls, inmates participate in brutal underground fights with no rules. These illegal tournaments are controlled by a powerful crime boss who makes a fortune betting on his best fighters. In the latest match, his star champion once again proves his strength. Gaga watches with satisfaction, casually handing money to his assistant to get food while discussing the extraordinary power of this fighter with the warden. That moment is interrupted when the clumsy assistant drops the money, which an old, disabled inmate mopping the floor sees and calls out to return. Amused, Gaga offers to let him keep the money, but the inmate refuses with quiet disdain. This man is no ordinary janitor. He was once a legendary fighter, now crippled by a severe knee injury from his final battle. Once striking fear across the globe, he has now become a quiet recluse. With at least 15 long years left behind bars, Boyka's latest request for early parole has just been denied. Alone in his cell, he forces himself to train, compelling his weak leg to regain strength with only cleaning tools and sheer willpower. Haunted by memories of his prime, Gaga visits him one day. He recalls how much money Boyka used to make him, showing respect along with new privileges. Better living conditions, a different cell and even a job in the prison library are offered, but Boyka rejects these comforts. He has only one request to fight again. However, Gaga shakes his head, convinced the fallen former champion is not ready, and tells him he doesn't stand a chance of defeating Saikov, let alone entering the international arena. Soon after, another bloody match takes place where Vladimir Saikov violently crushes his opponent, while Boyka quietly studies his every move from a nearby corner. He returns to his cell with a burning determination, pushing his injured leg to work harder than ever. The forgotten warrior knows his time is coming. As the next tournament approaches, he shaves his head, ready to step back into the ring. The long-awaited day of the tournament finally arrives. This time winning means much more than just becoming the prison champion. The winner will earn a spot in the first international competition, where the ultimate prize is freedom, allowing the victor to fight for their own liberty. Boyka does not let this opportunity slip away. He steps forward, rushes into the ring and boldly challenges the reigning champion Vladimir Saikov, pouring a bucket of water over him to make his point. Guards rush in to drag Boyka away, but Gaga, convinced the injured veteran won't survive the fight, decides to let it happen. What ensues leaves everyone in shock. Boyka, sharper and stronger than anyone expected, knocks Saikov out in less than a minute. The once seemingly invincible champion falls unconscious outside the ring while the inmates roar, hailing Boyka as their new king. Shortly after, the fighter is heavily escorted across the border into Georgia, where he is taken to another maximum security prison. At the same time, at a luxurious hotel nearby, the crime bosses sponsoring the international tournament begin to gather. Among them is Gaga, who still doubts the fighter he brought's chances. Inside the Georgian prison, the warden lines up the new arrivals. Most of the fighters remain silent and obedient, except for an American who clearly states his intention to win and walk out a free man. While the inmates are preparing, the powerful crime boss hosts the visiting bosses at a lavish dinner party, welcoming them to his city. The next morning, the warden sets the rules. Every day the fighters will be allowed to train for 1 hour. But before that they must do hard labor, heavily shackled in chains and escorted to a mountain quarry. Turbo, still full of arrogance, refuses to stay quiet and continues to argue with the guards about swinging the sledgehammer. Meanwhile, the Colombian fighter receives special treatment, lounging on a chair instead of breaking rocks, leaving the others wondering why he is exempt. When Turbo meets Boyka's cold stare, he immediately directs his rage at him, but the guards intervene before a fight can break out. Later, during the training before the first official match, the American continues his provocation. However, Boyka keeps his composure and refuses to take the bait. While most newcomers train with high intensity, the Colombian champion chooses a different path. He conserves his energy, relying instead on a metal case of performance-enhancing drugs secretly given to him by his boss. With this unfair advantage, he easily dominates the sparring sessions, tossing opponents around the ring as if they were nothing. Soon after, the qualifying round of the survival tournament begins. In the first of the 4 matches, a powerful Brazilian fighter beats the Greek contender near death with brutal blows. Next, Turbo enters the ring and decisively eliminates the Croatian fighter. Then it is Boyka's turn to face the French contender. Gaga watches from the sidelines, expecting his former star to lose immediately. Initially, the match is evenly matched and the tension rises with every exchange. Blood quickly stains the canvas under Boyka's relentless attacks, but the Frenchman refuses to stay down and charges in again with renewed determination. Ultimately, Boyka's strength proves overwhelming and he crushes his opponent with a fatal blow to the chest. Despite this, as he leaves the ring, he noticeably limps on his injured leg. Finally, the heaviest title contender faces off against the agile fighter from North Korea. Raul turns the match into a ruthless spectacle, punishing his opponent mercilessly while the crowd cheers until the bloodied man collapses unconscious. As the round ends, the warden visits the infirmary to check on the defeated fighters. He coldly tells them that their game is over and their chance to win freedom is gone. However, instead of being taken back to their cells, the losers are led away under guard, only to be secretly executed. For the survivors, the tournament continues alongside the hard labor at the quarry, where Turbo once again provokes Boyka. Exploiting the weakness he noticed in the previous match, the American mocks him by attacking the injured knee and relentlessly taunting him with endless chatter. Finally, Boyka's composure breaks. He snaps and delivers a devastating punch to Turbo's jaw. Thrilled by this reaction, the American lunges at him with a flurry of punches, eager for the fight he had been longing for. For starting a brawl, both men are punished. Boyka and Turbo are thrown into a freezing pit where the air is so thin it's hard to breathe. Even here the relentless American refuses to stop. Through the bars of the metal door, he continues to mock Boyka, trying to provoke him. After a night in the pit, the bosses arrive to check on their fighters. They are shocked to discover that the inmates are being forced to do hard labor at the quarry, swinging pickaxes in chains, which was never agreed upon. Furious, Gaga and the crime boss storm into the warden's office to confront him. But the warden meets their fury with an icy glare, then points them to the man standing silently in the back. He calmly explains the truth. The entire tournament has been rigged. The other inmates are being worked to exhaustion because they are destined to lose. Rezo has bet everything on the favorite Colombian contender. He tells the angry mobsters to stop fighting the system, bring more money and bet on the same man. Back at the quarry, the torture continues. Chained together, Boyka and Turbo are forced to break rocks side by side. Itching for a fight, the American starts another heated argument, maintaining the tension between the two. However, after a night in the hole, the fire between Boyka and Turbo finally cools down. Instead of wasting their strength fighting, they begin working in a rhythm to conserve energy. While the Colombian giant injects himself with another dose of performance-enhancing drugs, their teamwork gradually turns into mutual respect. And for the first time, the two men find common ground. While hauling heavy rocks, they discuss what their bosses already know. The tournament is rigged and only Raul is destined to win. Boyka also realizes something darker. At Gorgon's survival depends not only on victories in the ring but also on surviving outside its walls. Even after the brutal labor, he refuses to stop training and this time Turbo joins him. Meanwhile, Gaga and the crime boss scrape together every penny they can find to bet on Raul. Observing closely, the warden notices Boyka and Turbo growing stronger. To protect Rezo's guaranteed victory, he orders both fighters to work without being fed, but instead of breaking them, the punishment fuels their determination. On the quarry floor, the reluctant allies train harder than ever, performing synchronized push-ups and throwing heavy rocks while the guards and inmates watch in stunned disbelief. The relentless training takes its toll. Boyka's old knee injury flares up, forcing him to grit his teeth through the pain. Turbo notices and offers a remedy: mountain flowers. He explains that their essential oils can soothe the pain and Boyka reluctantly accepts the help. Soon after, the day of the semifinals arrives. Boyka steps into the ring against the Brazilian fighter while Gaga has secretly bet against him, hiding his doubts and offering his usual supportive wink. The Russian fighter attacks fiercely, but his injury quickly slows him down. Raul watches closely, noticing the weakness in his opponent's leg. Despite this, Boyka endures the pain and locks the Brazilian in a crushing hold, forcing him to submit and securing his spot in the finals. For the first time Rezo shows signs of worry. Fearing that Turbo might also be strong enough to ruin the plan, he directly orders the warden to neutralize the American before his next match. The guards carry out the order with ruthless efficiency, beating Turbo near death. When Boyka finds him bruised in his cell, Turbo insists through the pain that he will step into the ring. As Boyka remains intensely focused on his training, Raul approaches from the shadows. The Colombian tells him that he knows all about his past, the former king of prison fights who once ruled the ring but also suffered a humiliating defeat. Before leaving, Raul darkly hints that Boyka's American friend won't be alive for much longer. After finishing his workout, Boyka goes to check on Turbo. His cell is empty but he soon finds Turbo by the punching bag, emaciated but still trying to push through. Both men are immediately escorted back to the quarry for hard labor. Seeing his friend struggle, Boyka realizes Turbo cannot survive the next fight. At the quarry, he urges his friend to run into the woods instead of stepping back into the ring. Boyka offers to break their chains, but Turbo initially refuses, saying it is his duty to fight to the end. Even if he loses, he would rather return to his prison than escape in disgrace. Their argument is interrupted by an old water carrier who quietly tells them the truth. The defeated fighters are not returned to their prisons. None of them make it out alive. This revelation changes everything, and Turbo finally agrees to Boyka's plan. When a guard steps away, they try to smash the shackles, but the sledgehammer breaks before the chain snaps. Alarms sound and guards rush in. A violent brawl breaks out. Boyka easily takes down their attackers, but his weakened companion is struck with a baton. In the chaos, Boyka snatches the keys and unlocks Turbo's chains. With the help of the other inmates, the American manages to climb the hill and escape into the forest. However, Boyka is knocked down by a rifle butt to the head, blacking out as the rebellion ends. Boyka wakes up in his cell, his head still ringing from the blow. Standing over him are the warden and Rezo. The fighter demands to see Gaga, and soon the crime boss appears. Cold and indifferent, Gaga tells him that he has placed a new bet. This time it's on Raul, whom Boyka must face in the finals. The day of the final battle arrives. Raul stands across from Boyka in the ring. The referee signals the start, and the two rush at each other with equal ferocity. Every punch is blocked and every attempted chokehold is countered. Then in a brutal exchange, Boyka takes a direct hit to the jaw. Blood sprays from his mouth along with his mouthguard, and his vision blurs with the mocking images of Rezo and his entourage. Fueled by explosive rage, Boyka lunges forward with renewed strength, trying to take down the Colombian. But his opponent is ready. Raul grabs Boyka's injured leg, twisting the damaged knee until the Russian screams in pain. As Boyka writhes on the mat, Gaga and the crime boss celebrate, convinced their money is safe. Somehow, Boyka breaks free from the hold, but his attack falters and Raul rains down a flurry of blows. And when Boyka stands up again, a devastating punch sends his battered body flying out of the ring. The Colombian raises his arms in victory while the referee starts the 10 count. On the floor, Boyka's blurry vision catches sight of a prison mob, triggering a flood of memories. Among them is Turbo's voice reminding him to adapt and overcome. Using his last bit of strength, Boyka wraps his knee with a piece of cloth and manages to stand up at the count of 8. He stops the referee, climbs back into the ring ready to continue. The crowd roars for Raul, but when Boyka stands up and lands a crushing punch, the Colombian hits the canvas. Suddenly, the arena falls silent, broken only by the sound of Boyka's fists pummeling his opponent. When Raul crashes to the ground once more, the silence erupts into deafening cheers for the warrior who refused to fall. From their seats, Rezo and his partners watch with growing unease. Raul forces himself up, determined to end the fight by targeting Boyka's injured knee again. But this time the Russian stands tall, unbreakable. When Raul attacks, his leg snaps against Boyka's strength, sending him collapsing to the mat. The entire prison erupts. Boyka has reclaimed his title as the undisputed king of prison fighters. This is the most dangerous fighter on the planet, who has just escaped a harsh Russian prison and is ready to conquer the world. But even in his darkest dreams, he could not have imagined the challenges awaiting him on his journey to global dominance.